Hello, this is a test to check if everything is okay before I go public. Why is so much rustling? Sounds like I'm underwater. Testing 1, 2. So I've now muted the Realtek microphone. I think that was part of the problem because now your rustling's gone away. So it's a bit quiet for my liking, but you know what? We're just gonna make do with this, I think. How do I go public? I don't think I need to hear myself. It should be live now, I think. Am I live? What is this thumbnail I'm seeing? I mean, I'm not sharing my screen. I have no idea where this thumbnail comes from. Is there no channel? You know what? I have no qualms about that thumbnail. That thumbnail is perfectly reasonable for this anyway. So this is something I've been thinking of doing but never really pulled the trigger until today. So I've been publishing videos. So this is going to be like this is me live streaming the video creation process. I'm making a video about how I've been making videos as a hobby for 10 years. And I thought I'll live stream this as well, to just try out live streaming. And so basically I'm live streaming, but I'm also going to like record segments of this live stream to make it into a video, and then the videos I actually plan to make into market as a podcast, perhaps as a solo podcast. I'm going to be playing videos that I filmed, because I'm not going to show my face, but I'm going to show like videos I've been filming as like something so the visuals is not this blank. But in the edited videos, I'm going to have the same videos that I'm going to also play videos that I have recorded before, but they're not going to be the videos I'm showing. They're not going to be exactly the same as the one I'm showing on screen, because as I said, I'm only going to be recording segments of the live stream, and if I just stitch those together in the videos I'm going to be making from this live stream, then there'll be like jarring cuts in the visuals. So I'll overlay like new visuals in the videos. Hello. So anyway, I think we can get started. So as in the video description, I've been publishing videos onto YouTube for 10 years now. My first video went live back in 2014. The first half of 2014 is now the second half of 2024. And in commemoration of this achievement, despite, you know, I'm not in the 10 years I've not achieved like massive subscribers, massive watch time, massive monetization. No, I have not achieved any of that. But nonetheless, the fact that I've kept going all these years later, I think is something that I still want to celebrate. And speaking of that, I should probably actually record this because I'm filming the intro now. So I guess because I only need the audio from this live stream session, I actually don't need to set my OBS for the recording quality to be in super quality and large files. But it's too late to change that because it's all grayed out now that I'm streaming, so never mind. I'm going to hit the start record button. I have been publishing videos onto YouTube for 10 years now. In commemoration of this achievement, I want to just chat about some of the behind the scenes of my time making YouTube videos. So this live stream, I think I have like 3 things I want to just chat about, and that is going to be, well, I don't really, this is a really impromptu just chatting kind of thing. So I want to talk about the history. I want to talk about some of the more significant like projects, you could say, that I've worked on, and also the cameras over the years, because I've used a lot of different cameras over the years. So I think we can start with the history, and hopefully my nose doesn't become irritated wherever I am now. It's something that's been a personal issue of mine, is that my nose is a bit easily agitated. Yeah, you can hear some background noises from time to time because I may have my windows closed, but it's not most of the conducive recording environment. Now my laptop fans have gone. I rarely ever hear this laptop fans, but I guess when you're... I'm not even pinging my computer that much anyway. Okay, so let's start off with the history. So what is the history of me making videos on YouTube? Well, it was 2014 and I was in secondary school, and in my ICT class, which is the class for teaching you how to use computers like Excel and stuff like that, we had a unit on video editing, and somehow that unit piqued my interest in content creation and never really looked back since. If you go to this Yala Media channel about channel page, you see that it was only created in 2016. So what gives? Well, my first channel that I uploaded videos onto was a channel that used my name, but within 2 years I kind of gave up on that because I was kind of strangely thinking too much into the future, and I was considering the possibilities of the fact that this endeavor might result in collaborations and becoming a brand. And I didn't want my name to be the channel name because I felt like if other people assisted me in the content creation process or collaborated with me, they wouldn't get as much credit because the channel is my name, and rather than something a bit more less tied to me and myself. And I think another reason, that'd be minor reason, would be that the email address that was tied to my first channel isn't really professional email address. And I remember having a lot of struggles coming up with this Yala Media channel name because I wanted something ambiguous because my content is such a variety, so it had to be ambiguous. And eventually I settled on Yala Media, which for those who aren't aware is a Malaysian slang for like Yala, whatever can lah. So originally it was actually just Yala. I remember I was commenting on someone's video. I remember I was commenting on someone's video about the Dell Inspiron 7000 gaming laptop refresh at some CES, like CES 2017. I was like, I was self-promoting my own video I had made on the laptop, and I kind of still remember vividly someone commented, "Who is Yala?" And I was like, that's right. People, when they look at this Yala brand, they might think it's an individual, but I wanted to be more brand wise, so it then changed to Yala Media. And then fast forward till 2021, I decided to make another change, and that was to diversify. I remember in the video announcement I made about this change that I brought it up as the fact that I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. Basically, instead of publishing all the different type of content I make onto one channel, which at that point actually got to me, I think at that point I had already surpassed the requirements to get monetized on YouTube, which is 1,000 subs and a certain amount of watch hours. I decided to ignore the monetary possibilities of continuing to upload all my videos onto one channel, and I created multiple new channels to have dedicated channels for dedicated topics. So I created the Yes Bus channel for bus videos, the Yes Com channel for computer videos, the Yes Films channel for videos that involve, well, the way I describe it to myself was videos that involved copyrighted content that I was remixing and putting my own spin on, like compilation or clips. I have a Yes Game channel for gaming videos, a Yes Toy channel for toy videos, a Yes Site video for location videos, but it's better, is to describe it better, is now travel and events, which is actually a category of YouTube videos. But it took me a long time to understand that this channel is travel events, but like previously I would have described it very long-winded as events and events. I can't remember. Travel, it was so long that and I can't even remember how I described that channel at one point, but it's travel and events video. And there's also another channel, the Yes Me channel, which was meant to be content about me personally, like reflections and what I'm doing, like as if it's something like how it's like an influencer posting stories and updates on like their IG, but I'm using YouTube instead as a platform. There were some channels that I had considered to create, but I did not create, like Yes Gear reminds me, that comes to mind. This was meant to be a channel for like sporting gear, badminton rackets, sports shoes and stuff, but it's not content I actually make. It was content I did make a few of, but I did not make regularly, and because I never really made content to upload, the channels never got started. And there's also channels that I think got rebranded. Yes Films is now known as Yes Flicks because it's not just films. It now is also videos on like TV series and TikTok influencers. So Flicks is, I feel, like a more appropriate name to describe the channel. And you might have noticed a pattern is that all this is Yes followed by a one syllable word, which has definitely restricted my ability to name channels, because it's not easy to think of words that are just one syllable. I remember when I rebranded Yes Films to Yes Flicks, I had a lot of, it took me some time to come up to think of to find the word flicks, and I definitely had AI chatbot assistance on that, I think. I was talking about the list of channels just now. There's also the Yes Meal channel, which was food and drinks video. But back to the topic of rebranding, and then there's also going to be channels that I will be sunsetting. I'll be deleting. The Yes Toy channel I will be deleting because it never really took off, and I don't have new content for that channel. That channel will eventually come to an end. So that channel will be deleted, and I'll actually be re-uploading those videos onto the Yala Media channel. There will be new content that you've never seen on the Yes Toy channel on the Yala Media channel, but that's only because this content is really like backlog content filmed years ago and just never edited and never published. The Yes Game channel is similarly another channel that never really took off, but I'm not giving up on that yet because I feel like there is many content possibilities that I just have not explored yet for that channel. Another channel that I'll be sunsetting is the Yes Me channel that became the Yes My Name channel. Substitute my name with actually my name. It was for that channel was named like that for a period of time, and then it became Yes Tinker, which is what today. I rebranded that channel to be less about me and myself and more on the tinkering projects that I worked on. But the thing that I really struggled with that channel was trying to understand and reconcile the differentiation between that and the Yala Media channel. Yeah, there are some differentiations, because then I cannot post anything that's me and myself on the Yala Media channel, which I did, like car videos and hygiene product videos. But combine the fact that the Yala Media, the tinkering videos are really random. I feel they're really sporadic. I feel like the fact that they are also, as much as the Yala Media channel could avoid having me and myself videos, I feel like the Yala Media channel is where me and myself videos should go. Yala Media channel is the extra videos. It's where people would want to follow because they are more interested in me and myself rather than a particular topic. And having two of those type of channels that people will want to follow because it's not about particular topic, I feel is a little bit of a stretch. So this is another channel that I'm going to be deleting and then re-uploading content. I'm not sure if all the content will be re-uploaded, because even before the channel gets deleted, there are a handful of content that's already unlisted when I transition the channel from a me and myself to a tinkering channel. And so yeah. And I guess while I'm at it, I could talk about the fact that this is not the first time I've deleted channels. Even before Yala Media, I actually had a different gaming channel that wasn't my first channel. I'm not going to talk about the username because I use that alias for other social media platforms. I don't want to be stalked. But I remember how cringe those videos are, like with the editing style and stuff. Let me see if I have some of those videos archived on my drive. I don't think I will have though. Yeah, those videos have been lost to time. Never mind. So that is a history of me publishing videos onto YouTube. In the next part of this behind the scenes series to commemorate my 10th anniversary, I'm going to be chatting about some of the significant projects that I've worked on over the past 10 years. So that was just me recording like the first part of this series of videos. So YouTube actually recommends a lower bitrate. I'm actually curious, like because I'm filming this, I'm recording this straight to okay, 1.47 gigabytes. That's not bad. I can hear my hard drive thrashing in the background. And anyway, so this is the next project, significant projects. So we're going to talk about my son's significant projects. Let me think about this topic before I just start rambling on. I think I was doing pretty well just now, rambling off my head. But for this part, let me just create some notes. So some of the significant projects I worked on that I want to chat about is the photo slideshow videos I filmed I didn't film, it's like photographed in 2019. I want to chat about the cereal box videos that I made more recently. And then the MRT LRT station walking tours. Can I think of any other? Okay, I'm gonna try to stop. I want to because this is just an experimental stream. Let me see if I can go ahead and like reduce the bitrate and stuff, and whether it will interrupt the stream and stuff. So let me stop stream. You will not be able to reconnect. Okay, never mind. So take a note. Because the thing is that I referenced the YouTube live stream bitrate documentation, and they recommended for a H.264, which I think is what I'm doing, a 4 megabit bitrate for 720p, which is what I'm doing. I'm doing a 720p live stream. Okay, so let's continue. Let's talk about the significant projects that I've worked on. I really can think of 3. Anything else that is really significant? Let's just do a quick check on my channel. I think that's it. Today, in commemoration with making videos onto YouTube for 10 years, I'll be chatting about some of the significant projects that I've had the opportunity to work on in the last decade or so. And the first project that was both significant and very memorable was the photo slideshow videos I made back in 2019 of different make and models of cars. This is something that I will not do ever again, probably. And it's something that only a younger self of me would have done, because the amount of courage that this requires, the amount of effort this requires, and the amount of lack of sense this makes is crazy to think about, reflecting back on this. Basically, I wanted to make videos on cars, and I couldn't make like walk around videos of cars because I neither had the camera that was capable of doing so. Taking photos of cars would yield higher quality visuals. And also, I felt back then that if I was photographing in public, I should take the respect to censor people's faces, which is not something you can do very easily with videos, but you can do much more easily on photos. So for 1 year, basically on the weekend, not even the weekend, Fridays, because I would go to the malls, shopping centers, and I'll look out for car road shows, which then, if there was a road show and the car was a car that I had not previously photographed, I would approach a sales advisor or a member of staff manning the road show, and I was, hey, can I photograph the car? And then I will walk around the car and photograph the cars in various angles and various positions. And then I would come home, edit the photos, which would involve the censoring of people's faces, and then I will stitch it together, accompanied with a unique piece of music. I believe not a single slideshow videos that I made back in then had duplicated music, for better or for worse. Looking back, some of those videos have really, really atrocious music. But the YouTube audio library is so extensive, there was also no reason to use the music twice. And then I'll publish the videos. And this project was pretty memorable because of all the different aspects that I've just mentioned. The fact that I went to different shopping centers and looked out for road shows rather than do the more time saving method of going straight to the dealerships is bizarre looking back, but there was reasons for this. I feel like if I go into a dealership, they expect that I am a potential customer, which I'm not. In contrast with a roadshow at a shopping center, a dealership would know that they the purpose of dealerships, oh my god, it's so loud. The purpose of dealerships going out of their way to make roadshows is to outreach to a wider audience, people who may have not considered their products, to consider their products. And as such, I feel like if I photograph cars at a roadshow at a shopping center, a dealership would be more acceptable because they would have already accepted the fact that not everyone that goes to the roadshow is a potential customer. I remember towards the end of this endeavor, I wanted to, I had grown a bit tired of, bouncing between shopping centers and hoping to see cars, and wanted to actually go out to dealerships. But I just never really had the guts to do so. I did go to dealerships a few times, but they were really only they were for products that I knew that the dealerships would be packed for, like the launch of the Arus from Perudua, the launch of the Iris 2019 and Persona 2019 from Proton. I remember later on, this project died with the pandemic. It's not something you can do when the pandemic was around. I kind of tried to restart it when the first reopening happened in late 2020. That was when the Nissan Almera videos came out, and then later on there was a Honda roadshow in Gurney, and then I went to a dealership in Toyota in 2021, and I think realizing that it wasn't a time and place for me to continue doing this was what ultimately stopped. And then 2021 was when the pandemic really got hard, and then life changed, and I just never did this again. And I don't think I will ever. But shifting and talking more about I haven't been recording this whole time. So I guess I'm gonna have to retell the story. Damn it! I've been live for at this point 30 minutes. Wow. Yeah, I knew that this was gonna be a really lengthy, just chatting session. And I'm purposely doing this during the day because then I don't get noise complaints. Because I have to talk like louder than normal. I hope this stream doesn't get like striked for copyrighted content, because I'm technically using content from my sister channel. But does YouTube know that like it's the same email address between the two channels, but like it's completely different channels? We shall see if I get a copyright strike. Okay, let's hit the record button. In commemoration with making videos on YouTube for 10 years, today I want to talk about some of the significant projects that I've worked on, and the stories related to those said projects. The first project that comes to mind was the photo slideshow videos I made in 2019. These videos was a slideshow of pictures of a given make and model of car, showcasing the various details of the car in various positions, angles, and how I did these videos was every Friday I would go shopping mall bounce between shopping malls and look out for car roadshows. If there was a car roadshow and the car was not something that I had previously photographed, I would go ahead and photograph the car and then come back, edit the photos to censor out people's faces, and then mash them up together in a video editing program, accompanied with a unique piece of music from the YouTube audio library, and then upload it to YouTube. And at every stage of that creation process, there is more to tell. Let's start off with the shopping mall bouncing part. I remember there was one, because this was back when I was in university, and for a few months during the semester of university, I remember that I had classes on Friday with a 2-hour lunch break. And I remember that during that 2-hour lunch break, and this was before I had a driving license, so I depended on public transportation. I would hop on a bus from my university to the two Gurney malls in Penang, Gurney Plaza, Gurney Paragon. I think I'll hop off at Gurney Paragon, I'll walk to Paragon, and then I'll cross over to Gurney Plaza, walk to Plaza, and then I would, or was it the other way around? I think it was the other way around. I hopped off at Plaza, walked to Plaza, then went to Paragon, and then went back to university. And if there were no cars, it was great. If I had cars at the malls, it would be pretty tight fitting, because then I would have like no time for lunch to eat. And I remember one time I was actually late to go back to class because I got on the wrong bus back to university. And then during that same semester, after my afternoon class, I hop onto another bus because my university was pretty well connected, I feel. I hop on another bus to go to the Queens Bay Mall, and that was another popular mall for car roadshows. And then after that, I remember I would sometimes also, I tried going to the Giant supermarket in Banana Pass as well at one time. And while I had seen roadshows at that place, I think I went twice or thrice and there was like no roadshows ever. So, and because it's further out before Queens Bay, I kind of like, I think that I did that a few times and then stopped. But another place I would try to go when going from Queens Bay back to where my university or go back home would be the Tesco Extra, or now as known as the Lotus, in the Sungai Pinang area, I think. That's like where I photographed the 2019 Proton Iris 1.6 Premium CVT. And yeah, and that's like the fact that I would take the bus and like hop and literally go shopping mall hopping is crazy to think about. I remember that eventually I got my license and I tried to do the same thing with like driving, and it just wasn't the same. I think partly because I didn't do it for so long, but also because with driving you have to pay for parking. The cost goes up. It's not the same. And you know, with like when you take the bus and you get off at Gurney, you get off and you enter Gurney malls on the ground floor, and the roadshows on the ground floor. But if you drive to Gurney, you're either parking at the basement or you're parking on the multi-story car park, and you have to take additional escalators to go to the platform that is where the roadshows may be at, and it feels less conducive. Yeah, but eventually the pandemic hit, and so I stopped doing these videos. Eventually, I mean, I tried to do a few towards the end of 2020 when the pandemic had first subsided. But when the pandemic reignited into extreme, into the extreme that was 2021, and then after 2021, my life changed and I became busy, and I just never got back to making these videos. And it's not something I think I will get back to, because that brings me on to discussion of the fact that it's not sensible really to go shopping mall bouncing. It's actually much more, I mean, you don't see automotive journaling platforms going shopping mall bouncing to photograph cars. No, they would attend launch events and they will go to dealerships because you have a sure guarantee that you will have something to photograph. If you go shopping mall bouncing, there is a chance that there will be no car roadshows. Like that was the case several times that I went shopping mall bouncing. But the thing is, psychologically, I never wanted to go to dealerships because I felt like if you go to a dealership, as an introvert, I never really wanted to explain why I was photographing cars, and because I wanted to, and such. If I went to dealerships, I feel like the sales advisors at said dealerships would be expecting for me to be a potential customer, and I'll be just wasting their time and wasting the potential for them to be actually making sales. In contrast with going to a roadshow, I'm very confident that when dealerships want to set up roadshows, they are fully aware that not everyone that a roadshow attendees will be potential buyers, and like myself. And so the reason why I go to roadshows is because I feel like it's an environment that the staff would be more understanding of people like me spending time in the cars but not necessarily wanting to be a potential customer. And as such, that's why when shopping mall bouncing, they're going to dealerships. But that being said, I still went to dealerships a few times, like for videos that I knew would be very time critical. The 2019 Saga, the 2019 Persona, the 2019 Iris. These are examples of times I went to the dealership to photograph the cars, and so that I had like an advantage instead of waiting for a roadshow to happen. Also partly because I know these brands are not Proton and Pluto because of their mass following. They don't do roadshows that often. The Christmas present to myself in 2019 was to visit the Toyota dealership, and that was a good experience because I've managed to photograph cars that I had never seen at the malls before. And I wanted to make it like an annual thing. So I actually went back in 2020, but because of all the COVID measures, yeah, it's not something I continue to do. So that was like getting the cars and then photographing the cars. This is probably going to be a topic for my next video. But like, what ignited this whole thing was I was using my phone in my pocket was like a Samsung Galaxy Y Duos. It's like a low-end Android gingerbread phone, and I was using it in 2018. And it's not a camera that produces neither videos or photos that were usable for YouTube. They were just so low quality that I could not possibly do YouTube content with it. But because I had finally changed my phone to like a Nokia 2.1, which was like, suddenly I had a good camera in my pocket. And so when I went to the shopping mall and I saw I had a good camera and I saw potential content, that is what ignited this whole series, was getting that Nokia 2.1 phone. But eventually I realized that that phone was was not really good quality. So actually, because of the 4 slideshow videos, I got a Canon PowerShot S100, which died shortly after because S100s all have fatal flaws. Then I had a Olympus Stylus SH50. This was the first Yala Media project that was so significant to me that I had expenditure to improve the content with the purchase of better cameras. That being said, with the Nokia 2.1, actually photos on that camera can actually be okay. It's just that being young, naive, and unfamiliar with the world of photography, which I still am all these years later. I'm still researching and trying to understand exposure, f-stops, ND filters. The Nokia 2.1 can actually have decent photos if you look at the Proto Bezel G Extra video I made. But the thing is that if you look at something like the Citroen C4 Picasso video, it's so blurred because partly because I was on the rush, but partly because that camera gave you a false sense of speed. You would hit the camera shutter and it would give you like the impression that it's captured photo, but you actually should have like stayed there for a little while longer for it to actually capture the photo properly to avoid like motion blur and stuff like that. And then there's like the video editing process, once I've come back. I think censoring faces was always done in Paint.net. It's a program that I used then and still use to today. But the video editing software that I remember I was having like contemplation about. I was still using Windows Movie Maker in 2019, 7 years after its release, and years after it had been like official installation files for it had been like removed from Microsoft servers. And I love Windows Movie Maker because it was so great for photo slideshow because you could have crossfade effects done so easily. But the bitrate export of Windows Movie Maker was so low that it was compromising the already low quality photos that I was taking with the Nokia 2.1. And so the other video editing software that I was using for most of my other videos, because I acknowledge that Windows Live Movie Maker was limited and old, was Shortcut. But making crossfades with that was so difficult. I don't remember an easy way to do crossfades with that video editing software. Then eventually I just relented, and early videos you see crossfades and fades, but in the later videos it's just like 2 seconds the photo appears, cut, like it's a straight hard cut, and then next photo. Today I use DaVinci Resolve, and if I was to do this full slideshow videos, it would be so easy because DaVinci Resolve has a keyboard shortcut. You can apply crossfade to every photo clip on the timeline. It's so great. If only I had learned about DaVinci Resolve earlier, which I remember trying DaVinci Resolve, like installing the program and like understanding that it was a potential competitor for Premiere back in the day, but I wasn't in a position at that time to learn the software and no incentives really. It was, and because of the steep learning curve, it was not something I looked in at that point of time. I only picked up DaVinci thinking about it after this first slideshow videos, because I had some contract work, and the contract work involved me to work with subtitles, and DaVinci Resolve is much better at subtitles. It's really good at subtitles. So that's when I picked up DaVinci, and I never looked back since. But back to the full slideshow videos. I can also talk about the fact that each video had a unique music. No one full slideshow video, in my understanding, used the same music, maybe except for a few in the early days, because I challenged myself to use a unique piece of music for each video because the YouTube audio library is so comprehensive. That being said, if you look back some of the old videos, some of the music is absolutely atrocious and really just spoils the video in my opinion. But I remember I would have like a folder on my hard drive of all the music I had used already, so I knew that. So when I knew what I already had used, and so yeah, but that folder is long gone. I deleted it, and so I don't actually have a local repository of the list of music that I used in those videos. But nonetheless, that was the photo slideshow videos, and yeah, it's incredible to think of what I've done. And I think I could add to it that the photos, after they were used on my YouTube videos, I also uploaded them to Wikimedia Commons, and till today I have not seen another Wikimedia Commons contributor that publishes photographs of cars in such details. And this is one incentive for me to get back into this project, to contribute to car photography that can be redistributed with little copyright concerns. But let me work on other things first. So yeah, and another thing that I'm very proud of this project was the fact that, yeah, sure, some of the cars, other like big mainstream automotive journalist platforms have more higher quality images of. But what I'm proud about, what I've achieved, was the fact that I was successful in photographing cars that big automotive journalists never bothered to do. Stuff like that Generation 4 Subaru Forester WRX that was like a limited like runoff model before the 5th gen came out. Big automotive journalist platforms, they only like made announcement posts with like the press release, while I actually photographed the car. Now, although that was very early on, and that was before I was really comprehensive in my photos, but the fact that I have photo evidence of this that big automotive journalists don't have, I'm particularly proud of that. And is there another car that was like this? And then there were also stuff that I photographed that other big journalist platforms don't. Like, I would emphasize stuff like the center console, which I know like some, and like the VIN sticker, which I know some platforms don't photograph. And that actually brings me on to a point that just that reminded me, was the fact that I remember very early on, I went at cars quite like randomly. Like, would I walk clockwise around the car? Anti-clockwise, but towards the end I had standardized. I would walk around the car, going first on the passenger side and then the driver's side. I would go the front of the car, and then I would go into the rear seats via the rear passenger side door to photograph the rear seats accommodation, and then the rear of the car, of course, and then out to photograph the front half of the interior. I would enter the car through the front driver's side door, and so that would prevent but I think early on, when I would go crazy and I'll go into the car every single door, but I think by reducing the number of times I enter the car, it allowed me to make the photos quickly, and so to exit the roadshow faster, because I as I expressed earlier, I'm really scared of salespeople because I'm not a potential customer. And especially back then, I don't think social media was such a big prominence that people understood the potential positive outcome of making videos and posting them on social media about their cars. And then, so that was the first big project I want to talk about. And it's been a very lengthy because it was so much that happened for this. It's incredible what I achieved with this project. The next project is not going to be something that I will need to talk about so much. It's going to be very short in contrast, but it has a similarity with the first project, and that is I had to purchase equipment. I had expenditure involved to allow for these videos to exist, and that was videos on the cereal boxes that I published onto my Yes Meal channel. And what was particularly memorable, so the thing was, growing up, I never really had breakfast before school. In fact, sometime one day, I suddenly started having a lot of cereal box. I started consuming a lot more cereal, and I never discarded the cereal box. I just kept them. I never even flattened the boxes. At one point, I had like a whole wall of cereal boxes. It was crazy. But eventually I ran out of space and I flattened all the boxes, but I still kept the cereal boxes. And I had been publishing videos at that point about like various different snacks and fruit drinks and drinks cans, and like, what are these videos for? I don't even know myself, but I guess in my brain I'm thinking that, hey, someone may be interested in the nutritional values of these food and drink products, but they might have thrown away the packaging, so here's the video for them to have a reference point. So eventually I decided that I needed to start decluttering, becoming my life, make it a bit more minimalist, and so I decided that it was time to discard the cereal boxes. But before I did, I wanted to scan them all. I remember like the struggles to do this, because a cereal box is very reflective. You cannot photograph a cereal box dead on because there will be light bouncing off it and the cereal box won't be very clear. If you want to photograph a cereal box, you must do it at a certain angle. So I was like, this isn't working. I gotta find an A3 size flatback scanner, which is a rare thing. I eventually found that Muskin A3 600S scanner, which I made unboxing videos on the YesCom channel, and with that scanner I eventually scanned every single cereal box I ever had. And I did a few batches. The first batch was with like the cereal boxes I had accumulated at that point, but then I kept continuing consuming cereal, so but I never really scanned them as I went because I never really had a permanent place to keep the scanner, so the scanner was always in storage when not in use. Eventually I have since sold the scanner, partly because so there will be some cereal box videos that will be photographed. I decided to sell a scanner because it was just being underutilized and I kind of needed money as well. But nowadays I don't really consume cereal that much, so that series is gonna be also ending. But if I ever consume cereal again and I get the opportunity to procure another A3 flatback scanner, that series may very well come back. But I remember that first batch, the first batch of videos where I had about like 100 plus cereal boxes, I think. I don't even remember the number exactly, but I remember to make those videos I had 3 computers making the videos simultaneously. I had 3 instances of DaVinci Resolve on each 3 instances of like DaVinci Resolve simultaneously, one on each computer, to be able to like drag to the photo onto the timeline and then just export, because the export will take like 30 seconds. So I'll just computer 1 initiate the video, render off, and then by then computer 2 will be ready for me to like have done rendering, so I can get the rendering of that, and then by then computer 3 will be ready to like render the next project. So, and because DaVinci Resolve doesn't have any like scheduling like Adobe does with their media encoders, that's what I had to do with DaVinci, which was to have multiple computers. Or else, I think making those videos would have taken a lot longer, because sure, with 3 computers, there are some time lost when you transition from one computer to another. But if I was to just make all those videos on one computer, like, you know, replace these photos on the timeline, set to export, and then wait for it to export, and then before repeating that process of replacing the photo on the timeline and then setting the render, by spreading that work out over 3 computers, it was definitely faster. It's a project like this that made me very happy that I branched out and decided to have dedicated channels for my content. If I had published 100 videos, if I had published 100 videos of cereal boxes on the Yala Media channel, that would have been quite the sight. And I remember that these videos weren't scheduled, because to publish these videos, if I was to, back then I had no incentive to like schedule it out. I wanted to just get them all out one go. But in hindsight, if I was to redo it, I would have scheduled videos. But imagine if I had to schedule 100 cereal boxes, I would have had no slots for me to upload new videos for like 3.5 months. It'll be really crazy. So that's one of the examples of why I'm happy I had dedicated channels. And I think this was the first time I remember this was like one of the times that I ran into YouTube telling me that, oh, you've uploaded way too many videos today, try again tomorrow. So yeah, so that's the second significant project. Much less to talk about, but nonetheless still significant and memorable. And this third one, I'm not sure whether there will be much to talk about. I mean, there is definitely things to talk about, but I'm not sure how long it will be. And that was the Singapore MRT LRT walking tour videos, which, this videos would have just been that, but in recent times I've also expanded to make videos on the Klang Valley MRT station, and soon the Klang Valley LRT and monorail stations as well. This was another project that, similar to the last 2 significant projects, required expenditure in equipment to be able to produce. The first batch of videos that I made for this project was in May 2023. I basically wanted to go on holiday. I felt like going on holiday once a year was a good thing to do, and I had just gone on holiday in May 2022. So I decided to set my sight to Singapore, and this project I felt was something that I wanted to work on because no one else had done it, to my surprise. Singapore walking tour videos is quite a comprehensive. There's a lot of people doing walking tour videos in Singapore, but never has anyone done videos of the Singapore MRT LRT station's interior. For good reason. I'll get back to that. But I decided to set on this mission to visit every single Singapore MRT LRT station and make walking tour videos of the interior. And to add to that, I wanted to make, I think, 2 videos per station, so I can get as much of the interior as showcased as possible. Because like with an underground station in particular, the exits will be at opposite end of the stations, and by having 2 videos, yeah, there'll be some similarities between these videos, like the ticket platforms to the train platforms will be identical, but from the the ticket barriers to the exit, because it's two different exits at opposite end stations, it will be different between the two videos. And so with two videos, I can successfully achieve to showcase 80 to 90% of the entire station. Whereas if I were to make just one video, I've only been able to achieve probably 60 or 50%. That being said, with the recent Klang Valley stations being mostly overground and the exits really being so close to each other, I thought it was not worth it to do two videos per Klang Valley station. And so I'm only doing one. But that being said, some of the Klang Valley underground stations, I haven't gotten around to them. I may do one or two videos for those, but to be determined as of recording this video. This video of me talking about this project. But back to May 2023, I had purchased a DJI action for this project, which was a mistake. And upon going to Singapore, I remember I had no plan. I had no plan on what line I wanted to film. No plan that that day I was going to film the Thompson East Coast line first. So the Thompson East Coast line I filmed first, and quite soon of filming I realized something was not right with my camera, and my camera was making very tilted videos. If you go back to those May 2023 filmed videos, you will see that those videos identified by those very ugly thumbnails that I now really hate. But I'm happy I made those thumbnails and only for that batch of videos, because then it's identifiable that those videos are going to be a bit more ugly than the other videos I made on the Singapore LRT stations. You can see that some of the videos are tilted. And while this wasn't an issue in the Thompson East Coast line stations because they were very brightly lit, when I moved over to like the northeast line, which is not so well lit, and while the video is well stabilized when I'm outside the station, the moment I go into the station, the video gets really bouncy. But it took me months. It took me like the whole of 2023 to realize what was going wrong. The issue of the crooked camera is just being the camera was defective. But the issue of the stabilization issue, it literally took me until the end of the year when I was filming a walking tour completely in the dark in Penang. And I reviewed the footage. I was like, wow, this is getting really bouncy the moment I walked into the streets without any street lights. And I learned that the Action 2, because it's fully electronic image stabilization, doesn't work well in low light conditions. So when I went back for Singapore in January 2024 for another holiday, I mean, yeah, I like to go on holiday once a year. So I should have gone in May 2024, but due to several reasons, I decided to bring it forward to January 2024. I purchased a DJI Pocket 2, and that was what I should have had from the very beginning. And other changes I made was, instead of recording at 1080p, which is frankly too low res, I'm now filming in 2.7K, which I feel is a nice compromise between 1080, which is too low res, and 4K, which is may have some penalties to how much I can film with higher bitrate, as well as some penalties with battery life, because I'm on the go. I need to conserve both storage and battery life, because it's not something I can very easily have a finite amount of that. And when I went back to Singapore again in August 2024 for other reasons, I so happened to have some spare time, so I filmed a few more stations, and this time around I decided to film with the wide angle lens, which I think is a change, but if it has any positive or negative change, I can't really say. One thing I'll say is that compared the Singapore videos to the Malaysian Klang Valley videos, you will see that I prefer the Klang Valley videos because even though the DJI Pocket 2 is not a difficult camera to operate, if you look back in the January videos, some of my camera work wasn't that great. Like I was filming the ceiling too much and stuff like that. Also, and this brings me on to the last point about why no one really wants to film Singapore's MRT LRT station, and that is the fact that it's a bit of a difficult thing to do from the perspective that the legality of such actions is not unanimously understood to be allowed. You technically can film the interior of a Singapore LRT or MRT station as per LTA's website, as well as LTA's response to inquiries over the years. However, members of staff within the train stations themselves have a different understanding of this, and from their perspective, photographing the station is not allowed. I have been caught once by a member of staff at the train station, and this was only because in this particular train station I was a little less discreet than I usually am with filming, and I was stopped by a member of staff. And from what but I'm glad I did, because I learned a bit more. My recommendation, if anyone wants to film Singapore LRT or MRT station interior, be discreet, go fast, and don't, for whatever you do, film the control room. That control room is the point of contention for the member of staff and their basis of why you're not allowed to film inside a Singapore MRT or LRT station. But one of the reasons why I feel very proud of what I've managed to achieve is that having media of these stations is a form of knowledge preservation, history, making history. I mean, some stations like Dhoby Ghaut are different today to what they were back when the TEL, Thomson East Coast Line, didn't exist. But there is, so that's the good thing about videos. So if you're wondering how, another reason why no one if anyone was wondering how much this cost, because for those who don't know, when you tap in and tap out stations, because of how frequently I'm bouncing between stations, there's no I basically, in both May 2023 and January 2024, I procured a 3-day tourist pass, which cost 24 Sing dollars, after a $10 refund when you return your tourist pass card. So, and you film MRT stations. I think I filmed each trip about 70 stations, LRT and or MRT stations, and as such, 24 divided by 70, it was 35 cents per station, which is, I think, perfectly reasonable compared to if I was to instead do it. If I was to pay full fare, I think each station is at least $1.50. I'm not sure. I actually don't know the cost of traveling on the MRT on regular fare, because that's not something I ever really did. Anyway, that has been the 3 significant projects that I've worked on. Yeah, most of them were in the last 5 years, compared to most of them were in the last 5 years, but I never really worked on massive projects in the first half, but it's also because I was younger back then. So that's been some of the significant projects I've worked on. yeah, thank you for watching. While filming that second part, I didn't think talking about the full slideshow videos it would take so long, but it did. I'm going to take a little break because my throat is dry. I've been talking for an hour. And so I'm going to take a break. I'll be back in about 10 minutes. Let me make a text here. Okay, I'll be back shortly. In the meantime, let me see. What can I do to make the break a little more enjoyable? Okay, I am back from my little break, and we're going to continue to just chat. And now it's going to be cameras over the years. And should probably start recording. I'm not going to think of any notes for this. I'm just going to YOLO and ramble on. Before that, let me just check. Okay, it is set to loop. Good. Anyway, so over the years, I have used many different cameras, and when you go to, I think let me make a commemoration of doing YouTube videos for 10 years. I want to look back and talk about some of the behind the scenes aspects. Today, I'm chatting about the different cameras I've used over the years. I think if you go to any YouTuber, and one of the very popular questions you may get to see is people asking what cameras they used. And often, the reply back is whatever you have. And that was so true for me. When I started making videos on YouTube, the camera that I had access to was a 2012 first gen iPad mini. And I remember filming videos on it, and also and later on I had access to Samsung Galaxy Note 2. But then when the Galaxy Note 2 died, somehow I'm struggling to think of this story. I'm trying because I think the issue with this is just how blur I am and how lack of confidence I am. Let me try again. In commemoration of making videos on YouTube for 10 years, I'm looking back at some of the different cameras I've used over the time. When I first got started on YouTube, I was using a iPad mini, and later on I had access to a Galaxy Note 2. This Galaxy Note 2 ironically died, but I later revived it and tried using it again, and many years later in 2019 I photographed a couple of photo slideshow videos with this camera. Ironically, there were a couple of expensive Porsches, and the photos that this phone captured, let's just say, weren't very impressive. And I was actually quite surprised and taken aback back then that this 2012 flagship was actually kind of comparable to my then 2018 low-end phone. But anyway, when the Note 2 first died, I then switched out my personal phone to probably the Nokia Asha 210, and in what will become a theme, and this was the first of two times that I lost access to a good camera in my pocket. And when this happened, I kind of did reduce on the content I produced. Later on, I eventually procured a Google Nexus from LG 5X, and once I had a good camera again in my pocket, I filmed a lot more. what will also become a theme is that I am quite prone to having camera malfunctions. This Nexus 5X died eventually due to the infamous boot looping issue. And when it died, I went back to using the Nokia Asha 210. But I knew I needed a good camera in my pocket, so I actually went out and bought a Fujifilm FinePix JV300, which was like the cheapest point-and-shoot camera I could find. And to be fair, I was pretty astonishing. It was pretty stunned and taken aback at just how bad an affordable low-end point-and-shoot camera can be. Because I grew up with point-and-shoot cameras like the Canon PowerShot A810, which was nothing fancy, but the camera, photos, and videos were perfectly usable. So to see that a dedicated point-and-shoot can make videos and photos this bad was pretty surprising. The videos in particular was astonishingly bad because you had all these artifacts as if I was filming on like an analog camera, but I wasn't. I didn't use this camera for much, but I did make a few videos of it, like the 2015 ASIA Standard G review as the passenger and the 2017 Penang Flirt as a aftermath video. In fact, that video in particular kind of is was a bit memorable because I tried to film a walking tour video of that, but this camera and my shaky and trying to film this speed made the videos that come out of that walking tour completely unusable. And so the video you guys actually ended up seeing was just stills I extracted out from that video in a slideshow form. I did eventually switch out the Nokia Asha 210 for Galaxy Y Duos, but that still didn't really put a good camera in my pocket. The Galaxy Y Duos, I think I filmed maybe one. The Galaxy Y Duos video is credited for a Maxis 3G portable modem video that I filmed way back in the day when that phone wasn't even mine. I wasn't even using that phone, and that was even before I had a phone. As well as a video more recently, I think, was of doing a Jalan-Jalan Pulau Pinang video. But eventually I got another camera that was good enough for YouTube in my pocket. That was a Nokia 2.1. And because I once again had access to content, to making content to filming content so easily, I think it directly resulted in my ability to publish a brand new video every single day in 2019. But eventually, the Nokia 211 was disappointing me in its capabilities, and I bought another used camera, a Canon PowerShot S100. This was primarily a camera I used for the photo taking capabilities. I did film a few videos on it, but the autofocusing is really a turn-off. I think I tried filming a Jalan-Jalan Pulau Pinang video on it, and it was kind of out of focus, a lot of it. Did I film any other videos with this camera? I remember that one time I did try to film with this camera, and I was surprised at the fact that the video was somewhat stabilized, and I learned it had OIS. But when I tried to push it, it's still mild OIS. It's not OIS to the extreme that it can film smooth walking tour videos. I don't actually remember filming much with that, partly because it didn't last that long. In the theme of camera malfunctions, this camera died because of an infamous S100 issue with lens error. And when this died, I then bought another used camera, a Olympus Stars SH50. I actually don't remember if this was used or new old stock or an old demo unit. But what I do know is that this S100 was really bulky, and technically it produced worse photos than the S100 due to its smaller sensor and its smaller sensor. But this camera had a couple of advantages compared to the S100. It had more zoom, it had 21x zoom compared to 5x zoom, and it also was capable of doing 1080p 60 fps video in compared to the Canon's 1080p 30 fps video. But what probably was the most impressive was the 5-axis stabilization, which meant that I could actually do walking tour videos with this camera. And I did, I think, a popular mega book fair video with this camera, but the problem is that it was so bulky, I had to still be very discreet with it. And when you're being discreet, you're not necessarily holding the camera in the best position for stabilization. And while stabilization is smooth, it isn't silky smooth like with like a gimbal like from DJI, which we'll get to later. This Olympus Stylus SH50 was... I remember one of the challenges I had with this Olympus was the white balancing issue. Some of the photo slideshow videos I filmed were the automatic white balance, and that wasn't very good, and I had to use the manual override to set the white balance a few times. And I remember one of the issues I had with photographing my photo slideshow videos was that neither the Canon or the Olympus had articulating screens, and so the camera would be very low down and I couldn't really see what I was capturing, and I didn't really want to kneel down, so that was one of the issues I had. My phone eventually upgraded from the Nokia 2.1 to a Xiaomi Mi 8 2 Lite, which was okay. It made better videos, but it wasn't that impressive. It still was probably subpar to the Nexus 5X, which I at that point long not used because of its depth. And eventually my next camera upgrade was with the Google Pixel 4, and this was a genuinely upgrade in both the photography and videography. It may not have had 5-axis optical image stabilization like the Olympus camera, but because of the magic of its OIS and EIS hybrid, that actually allowed for really smooth videos. And if anything, I actually think that Pixel 4 had smoother video than my current 2020 iPhone SE. But jumping ahead of time, unfortunately the Pixel 4 was short-lived because I bought that phone as a defective phone with a faulty screen. And even after I replaced the screen, I got it wet once and the screen kind of died again. I actually still have that camera lurking around. I've never resold it since because that phone has other issues. I just haven't got around to sell it. But normally when I upgrade cameras, I do try to sell the old one even if it's completely dead. And because of that Pixel 4 demise, and my phone and my Mi 8 2 also dying eventually, I switched over to Redmi 10C. This was a dark time in my life, I would say. So that thing and that camera, I think that camera was not good. It was bad. And the fact that I couldn't film 4K really hurt because the video quality sucked. I think it's comparable to the Nokia 2.1, maybe a slight improvement in terms of color reproduction, but it was worse than the Mi 8 2, and even that wasn't that great to begin with. And so that was a misstep in my camera adventure. But eventually I corrected myself with the purchase of the DJI Action 2. Well, kind of. See, I had watched the videos reviewing the camera and was very impressed by two features: the video stabilization, as well as the ability to compensate for being off axis. I can hold the camera and rotate it, but the video would remain still. Unfortunately, I bought a used Action 2, which turned out to have a defective gyroscope, presumably. I never really got it professionally diagnosed, but probably had a defective gyroscope because the videos, I could tilt the camera and the video would remain same, would not rotate the video that was being captured, but the videos was off axis. And worse still was I didn't know for many months, even after getting the camera, it's video stabilization works great when the lighting conditions are favorable, but when the lighting conditions get dim and dark, like in an indoor scenario, the stabilization falls apart. It's still better than if there was no stabilization at all, but it didn't make videos that was pleasant to watch. Eventually my phone got upgraded from the 10C. I gave up on that and I got an iPhone SE used. And I also eventually changed out that Action 2 for a Pocket 2. And that's what the cameras I've been using till today. iPhone SE 2020 and DJI Pocket 2. I mostly gravitate towards the Pocket 2, but because it's bigger and bulkier than the Action 2, it's not a camera I carry with me all of the time. And sometimes I find myself wanting to film something and I don't have access to the Pocket 2, and so the iPhone SE is a good backup camera. If I have one complaint about the iPhone is that it cannot do 4K 60 in H.264. It can only do 4K 60 on H.265, and as much as H.265 is a codec that is promising because of its better image quality with less file sizes, Windows doesn't play nice with H.265 with the thumbnails and image extensions and compatibility issues. And if anything, I don't actually want to film 4K 60. I want to film 1440 60, but the iPhone only does 1080 60 or 4K 60. There's no middle ground option. With the Pocket 2, the resolution I use the most is 2.7K. A nice middle ground between 1080, which is too low, and 4K, which is a bit too much in terms of which has extra concerns with battery life and eating up too much storage. Aside from cameras, so I've used action cameras, point and shoot, smartphone cameras. I guess another imaging device I could talk about is the Mustang A3 600S, which is a flatback scanner which I used for the Sealbox videos. But there's really not much to talk about that because it's just a scanner, right? Yeah. But I will say, over the years, as I explored different cameras and trying to get a better understanding of different camera properties like aperture, f-stop, white balance, exposure, shutter speed. There were times that I was looking at sensor size. There were times that I've been looking at other cameras than what I have. But I'm happy with what I have now. In the future, I'll probably upgrade my phone and my DJI Pocket 2 to whatever new Pocket is around when I want to upgrade. But that won't be anytime soon because I think these two cameras have perfectly adequate videos quality. The color reproduction is good enough and they do what I need them to do. That being said, if I was still doing photo slideshow videos, I would have probably tried to procure an RX 100. Thinking about it more, I might make a separate video comparing the Action 2 and Pocket 2. But if there's not one type of video that I've been unable to produce since selling off my Action 2 following the purchase of my Pocket 2, and that is stuff that an action camera is just simply better off. Stuff like riding a bicycle or going on adventure sports. These are stuff that the Pocket 2 just isn't really cut out for durability concerns and If my Pocket 2 falls off a bicycle, it's gonna be pretty much dead. But Action 2 can probably take the beating. So, but it's not videos that I film very often on bicycles and stuff. So, for the most part, I'm happy with what I have. I'm able to film what I want to film, And yeah. Okay. And yeah, so that has been a bit of a history of the cameras I've been using in the last 10 years or so. Anything else I missed out? Maybe I can inject and say that before procuring that Mustang A3600S flatback scanner, I had sourced a HP inkjet 7610, which was a A3 scanner as well as a A4 scanner with a feeder system. But unfortunately, it was e-waste for a reason. That thing had a defective cable which basically rendered the entire printer useless. And I guess over the years I might have used some of my family's other phones they've had for my filming purpose. I may have filmed a few videos on the Nokia one that my mother had, and perhaps yeah, I'm not going to drag this on anymore, and I'll need definitely, this is probably the most roughest of the 3 videos that I've tried to make in this live stream because of just how much I need to dig up for my brain that isn't in recent memories. So wow, I've been live streaming for 1 hour 40 minutes. I've been just chatting. Reconcile. I've been wanting to make this video for a really long time. I've been talking to myself to make this video for a long time. I've never, sat down and recorded it, and I think part of the reason was because I knew that it was kind of going to be a daunting little task. It's going to take a really long time, and I felt like this was a good way to get the process started. Yeah. Yana Media is something that has been a consistent, positive thing that I've been able to look forward to and be proud of, really, in the last 10 years of all my ups and downs of growing up and learning about life. And yeah, and I don't think there is I don't see an end to this. One day I may stop, but I don't think that's anytime soon. And also I think now and where I am in life, I'm in a position where I can actually spend more time on Yana Media on a regular, consistent basis. So expect more, I would say. Any questions? It's kind of surreal that I finally like flushed it out of my system. There's 3 things I want to chat about with in conjunction with the 10th anniversary, about behind the scenes content. Like, I finally have flushed it out of my brain. I finally have recorded it. Wow. But yeah, like, I'm still experimenting around with how I brand each channel, whether each channel should be related to each other, what's the relationship between the channels, should the channel stand alone. And later I'm going to actually stop the stream, and I'm going to go, so I don't know what key I've struck, and then I'm going to have to delete some of the color channels to, like, as I've talked about earlier, with like the Yes Toy, the Yes Tinker channels, and start re-uploading and republishing those videos onto the Yarn Media channel. And yeah. But I feel I kind of feel it's crazy. I'm lost for words at this moment, because like I'm lost for words because I'm so to be a bit more personal, my upbringing wasn't perfect, but I'm very happy and very fortunate that I was able to continue, like, TLDR, my upbringing wasn't perfect because I had a little bit too much freedom, had too little guidance. But if there's one thing I'm happy with, that the lack of guidance and too much freedom allowed me to, was the content creation and having this hobby. So yeah, I'm someone who tries to find a silver lining in all the negative. I'm feeling a bit tired now after chatting for so long. I don't think I'm going to immediately stop streaming. I'm going to continue to do more. Yeah, I mean, it's meant to be a hobby. It's meant to be something so I'm going to relax a bit after the stream. If you tune in, thank you so much for watching. I'll keep this video public for a little while until the individual episodes get published. Maybe as a podcast, not as a podcast on YouTube, but yeah. Thank you so much for getting, if you tuned in. I'm going to stop the stream now.